Então, nós estamos contemplando raiva no livro de Change of... Oh, sorry. I was watching a video with Zunzer Chinsu Rinpoche and Jet Li. You know who Jet Li is?
Mhm.
Turns out he's the main sponsor of 84,000. They said in the video. It's on YouTube if you want to see it. It's Prajnaparamita com Zunzer Chinsu Rinpoche and Jet Li. That is there. So they're talking, and they have a Chinese to English translator. But Jet Li keeps switching from English to Chinese, and the translator gets so confused. Then she's speaking Chinese, then she's speaking English, then she's looking at her and says, English, please. Then they all start laughing. It's a pretty funny video. But anyway, I didn't realize he's the main sponsor, or one of the big sponsors for 84,000. How wonderful. He said when he was a little boy, he was very poor. But from the age of 8, his family put him in a kung fu training. And he said it was probably some kind of karmic connection because he learned kung fu effortlessly. He said it was so easy. It was like I was just remembering it. I wasn't learning it. And by the age of 11, he was champion, world champion. And then he started making movies. Then when he was little, he made a movie called, I think, The Monks of Shaolin. And that's what made him famous. And he said also in that movie, he was introduced to the Prajnaparamita because they have some quotes from the Prajnaparamita in the movie. And that's what, that was his first introduction to Buddhism. So anyway, we're talking about anger and how destructive it is. So some people are clarifying doubts here in the book about giving up anger. So somebody asks Rinpoche, if I give up fighting out of anger, others are going to hold me down because they don't have the same intention of giving up anger. It seems to me that if I do what you say, I'll be held down my whole life by the church, the community, and the criminal justice system. Rinpoche said, you can still do whatever you feel is necessary to change the situation, but do it with clarity, not with anger. I think we read this one last week too. Basically, what can you do without anger? No, what can you do with anger that you can't do without it? There's nothing you can do with anger that's not possible to do without anger. You can talk strongly, you can hold your ground, you can stand up for your rights, you can defend yourself. You can do everything without anger that you can do with anger. So what's the point of anger? So giving up anger won't prevent me from acting? Rinpoche said, if I were to tell people that in order to overcome their anger, they should be passive and never act, I myself would be making bad karma, holding them back from helping others. Yes, act if you think it's important to do so, but without anger. A bodhisattva, a spiritual warrior, does not retreat from what he or she knows is right. But if you feel you are being wronged or subjugated, don't think only of yourself. Consider all of those around you and act on their behalf. And don't just align yourself with those caught in the same predicament as you. Think of the ones who are harming you and the negative karma they are making. Act with unerring love and compassion to uplift and ensure justice for everyone involved. When you feel anger arising, instead of riding its wave, wait until it subsides. Retreat into your mind and think about how you might be more persuasive. At times, you may need to speak very directly with strength and clarity. But by speaking softly rather than harshly, people will tend to listen to you more. If anger drives you, you won't be able to sustain your efforts. But if you have compassion for both victim and aggressor, you won't give up. You will remain consistent, capable, and stable. Instead of losing enthusiasm, you will find your energy increasing. A bodhisattva's approach to helping others is to fulfill their needs, whatever they might be, without regard for her own welfare and never with anger. Acting out of love and compassion is the way of a spiritual warrior. It is the basis of awakening to enlightenment. A bodhisattva would, without hesitation, give up her life for another. Anger could never produce such a heroic mind. Only deep-seated love and compassion can lead to the heroic mind of a bodhisattva. In essence, the purpose of this training is to help us to develop these very qualities. This is a good one for the current political situation here in Brazil and in the rest of the world. It says, I can feel compassion for individuals, but the system that causes so much suffering makes me furious. Rinpoche said, what provokes us is not as important as how we respond to it. If we respond with anger, feeling that we are right and our adversary is wrong, we create more harm. Compassion is the only good thing that can come out of any situation. I was watching the debate 2 nights ago on TV. I watched it for about a half hour, then I had to turn it off because it was so ridiculous. But I was watching these people that are in charge of the country acting like basically little children in grade school, in nursery school. And I watched that, and I watched my mind, because it's so easy to get angry, to feel frustrated, to even hate some of them for what they do, for what they say. But in samsara, there will never be an end of those kinds of situations. Don't forget, this is samsara. This will never be perfect. This is not the God realm. This is the human realm. And what characterizes the human realm is a predominance of the negative emotions, specifically desire and anger and ignorance and confusion and jealousy. So what we have to do, the difference between practitioners and non-practitioners. Non-practitioners look at the world like they're looking through a window and the problem's out there. And there'll never be enough duct tape, enough screws, enough hammers to fix all the problems out there. You fix one, 10 will pop up, like whack-a-mole. But a practitioner looks at the world as if it were a mirror to see our own mind. We don't put the blame outside. We know that trying to fix the outside will never fix the problem. Doesn't mean that we don't fix some things on the outside. That's the beauty of it. We're still free. But we use experience to look at our own mind, our own poisons of the mind. That's the big difference. So if you're putting the blame on the outside, if you're angry at the outside, if you're judging the outside, you're not practicing. You need to be looking at your own mind. That's the practice. And like Rinpoche said, there's nothing that we can do with anger that we can't do without anger. It's the same thing. We can still work on fixing things, helping people, striving for a better system while we look at our own mind, right? But we don't get caught up in the confusion on the outside. That's the point. That's what makes somebody a practitioner. Okay. In order to develop that wisdom, what do? We practice. In this case,